To my elders, this is a message in the hopes that you understand that you need reinforcements. You need to stop milking in self-pity. You need to stop complaining and start showing some leadership. And to all of my young people out there, and middle-aged, anyone really, we need to stop and discern who we are placing our trust in leadership to. It is not necessary for us to put our leadership into false idols. It is not necessary to put our leadership into any idols. Stop putting your faith into swindlers and robbers of the soul. Stop listening to people that make a lot of cheese, but they have no soul. It's amazing. It's really amazing. People just want to get things handed to them. They just want people to give them things. I was having a conversation with somebody at the gym for like the first time ever, like a legitimate conversation. And over the past, like, at least at this new gym that I've been going to for the last few months. And I overheard him. He's this 40, 50-year-old guy, late 40s, mid 50s. And he was complaining to another person about the state of affairs in politics, and he was complaining about the state of affairs in life in general, and just complaining, just not even shooting the shit, just complaining and whining. And so, it's like 6:30 in the morning, because I go to the gym in the mornings usually, and I just start talking to him, and I want to get a sense of how much he really understands of what's happening and what his history knowledge is like in regards to politics and in regards to history in general. So I started asking him some questions about the Russian Revolution and the Chinese Revolution and the Chinese Cultural Revolution specifically in the 1960s, and then the Bolshevik Revolution in 1917, which finally succeeded, and he didn't know anything about it, really. Hadn't really even heard of it. Well, that tells me as much as I need to know, really, about how much he'll really understand about politics and really about the horrors of the 20th century. Now, for those of you that are not aware, I highly recommend you do research into this topic. You can look up the book Alexander Solzhenitsyn's Gulag Archipelago, and you can also look up Magic Mountain, which talks about they both talk about the Russian concentration camps and what happened in the Russian concentration camps in the 1920s and 30s and 40s, and during World War II as well. There's also plenty of books that you can read about the Cultural Revolution in China in the 1960s. You just have to find either a PDF version or just look online for it. The reason that I recommend you read about these things is because it goes into the deep psychological understandings and underpinnings of what happens to a society and how to give the people no hope. Right? This is exactly what most modern leaders in politics don't want you to hear. So keep this in mind going forward. And this is why I say that you need reinforcements, elders. You have to have humility. You have to have understanding that there are people in the world that may know about things a little bit more than you, and they're then that your experience alone, even though you have decades of experience, may not be adequate in regard to helping people understand and prepare for what's coming ahead. So I start talking to him and I start asking him these questions, and I just realized that he thinks that he knows more than me about politics. And that's probably true for today's case, because I don't really follow a lot of modern politics anymore. Like, I try to keep up with things as much as I can on a lot of different platforms and such, and a lot of different journalists and independent journalists. But for the most part, like, it's not my top priority. My top priority is to better myself and to make sure that I'm the best leader that I can possibly be for the times to come. So I can tell he's highly enveloped into the political sphere. And yet, he just seems to be reciting a lot of the information. Doesn't really know what's going on behind the scenes. So we end up like leaving the conversation with just a casual, like, acquaintance, like, interaction, and something within me started to reminisce about a quote by Mark Twain that says, "The secret to getting ahead is getting started." And so what all you have to understand is that we have to get started. You guys don't even, like, I don't know if everybody knows really what's coming and what we're getting almost dragged into. You cannot trust anybody. Not anymore. And I'm not saying, like, not to have faith in people or anything like that. I'm just saying, like, know who you're dealing with. Some of the people that can be snakes, and snakes are really going to expose themselves. If you are truly awake, you will not be manipulated by them. If you are truly awake, it'll be very difficult for somebody to pull wool over your eyes, so to speak, right? So you have to be aware and you have to have discernment. And so today, this guy and I run into each other in the locker room, and he starts talking about how we didn't solve the world's problems every day. Yesterday, we didn't solve the world's problems. And I just thought to myself, like, this guy doesn't seem like a guy that actually wants to solve the problem. He wants to just complain about it. So I started to tell him, I just said, well, we have to start at the roots. That's why we have to start at the roots. And I pretty much left the conversation after that. And something that he said yesterday was that he told me a little bit about his job and who he works with and all that. And I thought, you hypocrite. You hypocrite. If you are going to talk about all the terrible things that people are doing, and yet you're doing business with those terrible people, that's on you, brother. That's on you. These people are sick, man. It's like they know the truth, and yet they don't want to take the action because to live the truth, because it's easier to live the lie. And when I realized that shit pissed me the fuck off. Oh my gosh, I was so angry. I was like, "Ew, people like you are exactly what's wrong with the world. You know the truth, and yet you're not doing anything about it." It made me furious. You're okay with living a lie because it's too hard to pick up your cross. Okay. Well, here's a message for you. Here's a message for everybody. Join me, encourage me, or go somewhere else. Nobody has time to not live in the truth these days. I swear, we live in the end of times. Like, I don't ever want to, like, think that. Like, I've been not allowing myself to believe we lived in the end of times because it's so hard to grasp. But then you watch the degradation of society unfold before you. You watch the dehumanization. You watch the demoralization. You watch the way people are okay with living their lives as a lie, even when they know the truth. And you think, wow, all right, well, these guys are not going to help me. These guys are not going to help you. It's up to us, the people that are actually aware, the people that are actually awake. People don't need to sell themselves short in this time. And it's like, if you guys know the truth and you're not doing anything about it, are you all that slow-minded, or are you just what are you up to, man? Like, what are you doing? You're just like engaging in the negativity just to engage in the negativity? That you're sick. You're sick-minded, man. You're sick-minded. So where is the strength and the wisdom of our elders? Where is the strength during these difficult times? Where's the leadership? It's up to us, guys. It's up to us. And I plan, and I've been planning and have been preparing for this moment my whole life. I always knew. I always had this sense when I was young. I would always get like these older books. I would just gather these older books. I didn't know why. I just felt like I needed to have them. Because I felt as though they weren't going to be available. I had no real reason to think this way or to believe this thing. It was just something that I felt intuitively and instinctually. And so I gathered these books and I've kept them. I have them still. And each day I grow closer to the understanding of why that is. Why I kept those books. Not just as a reminder of the times to come. Because information is going to be very challenging to actually be in the world. It's going to be very challenging to speak the truth. Which is why it needs to be spoken more than ever. And last night, I was reading Amos in the Bible. And I came across a verse that said, it's Amos 8:11. It says, "Behold, the days come, saith the Lord God, that I will send a famine in the land, not a famine of bread, nor a thirst for water, but of hearing of the words of the Lord." And I thought that that's exactly where we're going to be at. People are going to be so involved in the matrix that they have no clue what truth really means. There's also a quote in Game of Thrones when Jon Snow says, when we don't keep our words, like when we stop being honest, our words mean nothing anymore. And I thought that's a brilliant analogy for what's going on today. The contradictions and the juxtapositions that people have in their minds and the words that they speak compared to their actions is just insane. This is a guy, like this guy that I was talking to. When I bid him farewell yesterday, and I said, like, forget about politics for now. Let's get back to working out. Like, you guys do your thing. And he was like, "Oh yeah, we're done with this." And then they continued to talk he continued to talk and complain to these other people about what was going on. And I was just like, do you really not see who you are right now? Like, do you really not get it? And if I have to be the only man in my community that is capable of saying, "No, we're going this way. We're going this way. Join me, encourage me, or go somewhere else. Those are my stipulations. I'm going to be a leader in my own life. And I highly recommend you, men, be a leader in yours. And women, have the proper judgment and discernment. Because look, righteous women will know that they need a man. Righteous women will know that they need a leader. And it's up to you, women, to discern whether or not someone is going to be a good leader. So you have to keep moving forward too. But it's going to be in a little different way. You have to be capable of being a follower of someone. And that's how I'm going to be in my relationships from here on out. I spent too long. I mean, I have done this for quite some time now, but you get the point. I've been a leader in my own life for a little while now. And it took me so long to get to that point to where I knew I could be a leader in my own life. And I want to empower people to prosper. That's where this road is going, just so you all know. Where I'm going is empowering people to prosper and to live a life of peace. And guess what, ladies? I would rather have peace than the Pink Palace. I would rather have peace of mind, and I would rather have peace in general rather than the Pink Palace. I don't need the Pink Palace anymore. It would be great to have it. Don't get me wrong, but I don't need the Pink Palace. So it's time for us to choose. It's time for us to start a movement of our own. And we have to start within our communities. And now I know that this guy, when shit hits the fan, he's not going to be there, man. He's not going to be there. He's just not. So, men, you have to gather other men and brothers. Get your brothers together. It's time to rally the troops, so to speak. There's nothing else we can do right now but just get at the roots of our own life. And to really set the way for new fruits to grow. So, I hope this message was useful and insightful. May the glory go to the Most High. Peace be with you all.